Live from the Astrodome in Houston, Texas, the tennis battle of the sexes, Billie Jean King versus Bobby Riggs.
The Battle of the Sexes, played on September 20th, 1973 in Houston, captured the imagination of the country, not just tennis enthusiasts. Billie Jean King was set to take on Bobby Riggs. Both players were tennis stars in their own realms, but on that day, King was out to prove something not only to Riggs, but to the world.
We just started women's professional tennis, and it was a very difficult time for us. We didn't have any infrastructure, so we were trying to get people to even hold tournaments, and Bobby kept saying, play me, and I said, Bobby, we're so busy, I'm so busy, I don't have time. So finally, he played Margaret Court, who, quite frankly, at the end of '73 was the #1 player in the world. And he beat her like 6-2, 6-1. I mean, it was just annihilation, basically.
Male is king, the male is supreme. I've said it over and over again. I still feel that way. Girls play a nice game of tennis for girls. But when they get out there on a court with the man, even a tired old man of 55, they're going to be in big trouble.
The worry, of course, was that if Bobby Riggs' victory stood, it would undo what professional women tennis players had managed to gain.
Men and women did not get equal prize money in tennis, not then. Bobby Riggs went public and said women didn't deserve equal prize money. Billie Jean King took him on. It wasn't just a matter of equal pay, it was a matter of recognition, a matter of closing the muscle gap.
Riggs challenged King to a best 3 sets out of 5 match in what became the mother of all overhyped yet influential sporting events. He had vowed there was no way a woman could beat him, and if King did, he promised to jump off a bridge somewhere in California. It drew the largest ever live audience for a tennis match and got prime-time TV coverage. 30,472 spectators filled the stadium, and an estimated 50 million viewers watched on television. While Riggs was making radio and TV appearances prior to the event, doing hundreds of interviews and trying everything in his power to mentally frazzle King, she kept to herself, practiced dutifully, and avoided the circus that Riggs was creating.
Well, my preparation was impeccable. The day before the match, I went into the Astrodome to check it out because I knew it wasn't a normal tennis stadium, so I knew it was going to be very different. I met all the security guards. I knew where all the elevators were. I knew where my locker room was going to be. So it doesn't mean you're still going to win, but at least you've given yourself, you played the percentages right.
I had to prove that women athletes are good, that tennis is a great sport, and help people to understand that gender is not as big a deal as people think.
King, then only 29, ran Riggs ragged, winning 6-4, 6-3, 6-3 in a match the London Sunday Times called the drop shot and volley heard around the world.
It actually had an impact on tennis. The men in the women's professional tours had the biggest attendance ever in 1974 because of it. We got our first network contracts because of it. And that's both men and women. It's funny how when a woman does something, they always think we only affect half of the population. And people will come up to me and say, thanks what you did for women's tennis all the time.
King proved that female athletes could indeed excel in pressure-filled situations, contrary to Riggs' belief.
A lot of women did believe in themselves more after that. I went to a Philadelphia newspaper 2 days after that, and they stood up and clapped, and they ran up to me and said, we finally had enough guts to ask for a raise. I said, great, because if you feel that way, then you better go in and be direct about it. And they said, you know what, Billie, we got it. We got the raise. But we would have never had the courage to go and ask if you hadn't beaten Bobby Riggs.